Hey guys, you are welcome back to another edition on Sew with PaulVin. You know how we do it here. You know PaulVin never disappoints. Today our lesson is going to be about how to cut a beautiful button down shirt, a perfect one. I mean a perfect school uniform. Please, if you like what I'm doing, which I know you do, like this video for me and subscribe. You can also leave your comment in the comment section. I'll be waiting to reply to any of you that leaves a comment. Our measurement for the day: back 16.5, chest 34, stomach 31.5, shirt hip 34, and shirt length 26. Yes, I often use shirt hip too. Now make a straight line in front of your fabric. This straight line is going to be the button fold, the fold on which we will make our buttonholes. Yeah, so I'm going to use 1.5 or 2 inches for this. This is a teenager, so I'm using 1.5, but the normal one is 2 inches. Alright, use your T-square to make a straight line at the top of your fabric. This straight line is going to be the starting point of your length measurement. If you are done, let's go ahead and take the full length of the shirt, which is 26. I'll add 1 inch fold allowance to it. You know, school uniforms don't really come with big fold allowance like the kaftan, so it's not necessary that you add 2 inches. I'm just going to add 1 inch. Now copy the same measurement to the other side of your pattern so that you can get a straight line from it. Let's go ahead and use our ruler to connect the dots and make a straight line. Good enough. Okay, so we now have to do the partition of the shirt. The first one will be the shoulder slope, which is 1.5 inch. The next one is going to be the chest partition. It's on this chest partition that we will still do the armhole. Now the chest partition for a teenager, I'm going to use 7. From there we go to the stomach. I'm going to use 13 for a teenager. The normal one I use is 15 and 16 for a standard adult. We go to the hip, which I'm going to use 20. Others also call this waist, so I'm going to use 20. So I'm just going to copy the various measurements so that I can make straight lines out of them. Let's go ahead and connect them. So you can connect either any of them first. This one doesn't really come with any accordance. Now I just realized that I made a mistake with the stomach. Right, the 2 points don't really go, so the ruler is sloping. I have to just confirm the measurement. I realized that I added half instead of 13.5. I made the second one 14, so I just corrected it. Let's go ahead and connect the dots. Okay, now let's draft the back measurements on the fabric. The back is 16.5, so we will divide it into 2. When you divide it into 2, you will get 8.25. Then we will add ½ inch seam allowance to the 8.25, which will make it 8.75. So we will draft the back as 8.75. The next one, we are going to join the dots for our shoulder slope. Let's copy the back on the shoulder slope. Okay, so the neck, for a teenager, I use 2 inches for the width So for the width 2 inches, then 2.5 for the neck length. Okay, so as I've done, then get a small ruler, connect the points into a rectangle. Now if after connecting the point, if you have a French curve, you are free to use the French curve. It makes it better, but I don't have a French curve now, so I'm going to use a freehand to draw my neck curve. Now I have to connect the back slope point on the shoulder line to the neck. Right, so from the back to the neck, we now have to copy the measurement of the back, which is 8 3/4, and remove the 1/2 inch from it. Remove the seam allowance, the 1/2 inch from it. So we will mark 8 1/4 on the chest line. Then we will use a ruler to connect the 2 points. So this line becomes our armhole line. We must now draft the main chest measurement. The chest is 34 divided by 4 would give us 8.5, and we will add a button allowance in front. That will be 1/2 inch. So 8.5 plus 1/2 is 9, and we will add sewing or seam allowance of 1 inch, making it 10. So we will mark 10 for the chest. If you want to increase your sewing allowance, you can make it 1.5. Now the stomach is 31.5. When divided by 4, you will get 7.875, which is 7 3/4 plus some extra. So we just make it 8 inches. Now we will add the button allowance of 0.5, and then that will make it 8.5. Alright, then we'll add the seam allowance of 1 inch. That will make it 9.5. We'll mark 9.5. Now let's go to the hip. The hip is 34. 34 divided by 4 will give us 8.5, plus button allowance 1/2 inch will give us 9, plus sewing allowance 1 inch will give us 10. Now let's go ahead and connect our point to form the body shape. Now it's advisable that you use a French curve for this, but if you don't have a French curve, you can use your ruler and then massage the edges to get curves. Okay. So let's now draft our armhole curve. So we will put 1/2 inch behind the armhole line. It is through this point that we will draw the armhole curve. Right, so it's better that you also use French curve for this, but if you don't have it, you can just use a freehand. So you can just mimic my skill. I'm just using the ruler and massaging it through as I draw. So we have our beautiful shirt pattern. We can go ahead and cut. So there we have our beautiful front pattern nicely cut out. So let's fold it and put it on another fabric on which we will draw the back pattern and cut. So we are going to fold the front allowance on which we said we are going to put our button and buttonholes. We see the back pattern doesn't need any buttonhole, so we don't have to let the front allowance to be there. We just have to fold it in. Now make sure you massage your both fabrics so that they align very well. Alright, so all that I'm doing now is just ensuring my my front pattern aligns very well to the fabric that I'm going to draw the back pattern on. Right. So it's always better that you iron your fabrics before you cut. Alright, I was being lazy, so I didn't iron. Alright, so let's go ahead and trim any excess that we think is not supposed to be there. So I have to make sure I get a straight line at the base, so I'll trim the rough portions of the fabric off. Okay, so now we have to make sure that the width of the front pattern exceeds the width of the back pattern. This is because we need the front pattern to overlap after sewing. Alright, and if you cut the front pattern to be equal to the back pattern, there won't be any overlapping. So we have to let the front pattern exceed or be bigger than the back pattern by half an inch, as you've seen me doing. Right, so I'm using my tape to measure how the front pattern will exceed the back pattern, and it's half an inch. Alright, so take your time to do everything. Okay, so this ruler I'm using is a 2-inch ruler. Alright, so I'm going to use the ruler and put a straight line at the top of my front pattern on the back fabric. Alright, now I should have used a measuring tape, and because my ruler is 2 inches, I don't have to worry myself, but for your sake, let me just go over. Right. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and cut the front shape on the back fabric. Good. We'll do the same thing at the neck and the shoulder slope line. So I'll fold the back shoulders to meet the front shoulders. I've done a separate video on this one, so you can even check the link at the top right now. It's there, so you can follow it and then go and watch that one properly, how to cut the armhole and the neck and the shoulders. So with this armhole, as I've cut, when I'm done cutting, I'll show you something here. Okay, so you can see that I didn't cut the back armhole to meet the front armhole. There is about a half an inch extra allowance on the back. Alright, so you fold the shoulders to meet the front shoulders again, and you copy the neck width on the back neck. You can see as it's zoomed. Now I've copied the front neck width on the back neck. So I will use my scissors to make a notch. Alright, I've made a notch. Okay, don't forget I said this is a shirt for a teenager. So my neck is small. If it were to be an adult, I would have made the width of the neck to be 2.5 and the length of the neck to be 3 inches or 3.5 inches, depending on how fat the person is. So now the front neck is cut out. The back neck, I will measure 1 inch for the back neck length. As for the width, I didn't measure anything. I just copied the front neck width on the back neck by folding the shoulders to meet the front shoulders. Alright, so I just make a straight line through the back neck length that I just drawn and make a curve to meet the width. So I cut through nicely and patiently. Good. So we are done with our pattern and it's so beautiful. If you follow how I cut my pattern like this, you're not supposed to have any issues when you are cutting patterns and sewing. Alright, so see you on the other side. I think I've done my part. Now it's left for you to support the movement. Just support me by subscribing to my channel, and also please, if you haven't liked the video yet, I know I've done a good job, you like it, so like the video for me so that we can all go viral. Alright, so with PaulVin never disappoint. Please stay, don't leave. Bye bye.